Nostalgia is weird. It sometimes makes us do things that don't make any sense. Now look, I'm not immune from it either. I still like to make compilations of the music I like on cassette tapes. Rather than just make a playlist, which takes 2 minutes, I like to listen to each song as I record it onto the tape, get good at pausing the deck at just the right time for small gaps, adjust the levels so that it doesn't peak too much, and when you get to the end of a side, you gotta look for a song that's just the right length, or maybe go with one that's a little too short and then rewind the tape and re-record the last 4 with a bit of a longer gap. Anyway, nostalgia makes us do weird things, and it made me buy a percolator. But first, a word from our sponsor. This episode of Technology Connections has been brought to you by Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances. Do you ever decide to make toast and find yourself limited to just that one toaster on your countertop? Well, Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances has you covered. Thanks to Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances, you'll have your choice of not just toast, but toaster too. Are you tired of not being able to slow cook 7 meals at once? With Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances, you'll be slow cooking in style. Don't delay. Add a little spice to your life with Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances today. Thanks, Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances. You know, I'm glad they chose to pitch in because I was getting a little bored with my selection of coffee makers. Every morning I like to brew 2 nice cups of joe, and I've grown weary of only having 5 coffee makers to choose from. So I've bumped that up to 7 with the addition of these 2 percolators. What is a percolator, you ask? Why, what a great question! If only there were a piece of long-form internet content to answer that for you. Oh right! This is a percolator. For some reason, you can still buy these. These stalwarts of coffee's past used to be in nearly every home, but then we were introduced to the wonders of drip coffee and we decided, these are awful. At least most of us did. And now, of course, we've been introduced to the wonders of plastic single-use coffee pods, because we can't be bothered to put a filter in a basket anymore, I guess. And for those of us who like to work for our Java, there are just so many ways to go about it these days, like pour-over, French press, cold brew, and whatever other fanciful techniques are making the rounds. Fun fact, coffee gadgets make up 80% of Too Many Small Kitchen Appliances' yearly portfolio. We interrupt this program with a public service announcement. Dear demographic, we would like to inform you that fresh and hot are 2 different concepts. Believe it or not, the freshness of a cup of coffee is largely independent from its hotness. Those of you who will accept nothing less than burns your tongue fire liquid are ruining it for the rest of us. For you see, many establishments which subscribe to this hot is fresh philosophy, or else cater to those who subscribe, use carafes warmed by a hot plate. This burns the coffee in short order. For those of us who can taste things, burned coffee is bad. An alternative philosophy is to maximize the time a given quantity of coffee remains palatable. Some establishments use insulated coffee servers to keep brewed coffee hot as long as possible without introducing more heat and burning the coffee. While this may lead to coffee which is slightly less hot, I promise it actually tastes much better. And as a bonus, it reduces waste. Related pro tip, if you use a drip coffee maker, be sure not to start the brew too long before you intend to drink the coffee. Likewise, when brewing is complete, be sure to turn the unit off as soon as you can. This minimizes the time the hot plate burns the coffee, a side effect of this style of coffee maker which your host feels gives them an unfairly poor reputation. After all, what is drip coffee but slower, automated pour-over? Speaking of pour-over, how does one actually make coffee? Aha! At last we are back on track! Well, it all starts with the plant, with particular preferences regarding where it would like to grow. Let's just skip over all the in-between thorny things like exploitative labor practices and get to the part where we roast the seeds, which we call beans for reasons, of this plant. We burn them, but not too much, with some notable exceptions. After this rather heated ordeal and possibly a bit of grinding, Arabacadabra, it ends up on store shelves where you buy it because you're addicted to it. But of course, really, you could stop whenever you please. It's just so good, so why bother, am I right? Okay, well, to turn coffee beans into delicious hot brown, we need to make hot water and ground coffee very close friends through some kind of introduction. This, as you may recognize, is a maintenance An ordinary coffee maker. To use it, you simply put a filter into the basket, endure the internet comments about how you should be using unbleached filters prompted by this shot, add some ground coffee, put the thing in the thing, the water in the other thing, and flip the switch. The water in the reservoir is heated and pumped in a very clever fashion, I might add, to a little drippy thing where it will land on and seep through the coffee grounds and end up in the pot below it, now infused with the sweet, sweet caffeine that was in the beans. And flavors and other things probably too. Before we were introduced to the wonders of Mr. Coffee, we had to deal with these things. Now, don't get me wrong, the invention of the coffee percolator was itself a pretty neat thing, as it presented a fairly good balance between convenience and quality. There had been other ways to get your hot brown before, but some were really finicky, others couldn't make larger quantities of coffee, so for a time here in the US we settled on these as fairly good catch-all solutions. I have here two kinds of percolators, a stovetop version and an electric version. They both operate using the same exact principle, but the electric one has a distinct advantage, which we'll see shortly. However, the glass one illustrates how they work much better, because it's glass and we can see through it. Percolators use the fact that boiling water creates bubbles to force water up a tube. Percolators have three basic parts: a vessel for holding water to be heated, a vertical tube, sometimes called the perk tube, but that's actually a misnomer, and the tube travels through a basket which holds ground coffee above the water level. On a stovetop percolator, you'll find that the base of the tube has a sort of upside-down funnel thing. When it's assembled, this funnel covers much of the bottom surface. The purpose of that is to catch bubbles that form as the water boils. See, when you fill the percolator with water and place the tube and basket inside, water will travel up the tube to the same level as the water in the pot. As the water is heated and approaches boiling point, bubbles of water vapor form on the bottom. Many of these bubbles simply float to the surface, but some of them get caught by our little funnel thing. This forces them to travel up the tube, and as they bunch together, they force the water sitting in the tube to travel upwards as well. It then splashes against the inside of this glass knob thing, which allows you to see that the pumping action is occurring, and falls onto the spreader plate below it. After the spreader plate spreads it out, this very hot water now falls onto the grounds below it and seeps through them, which, by the way, is where the name percolator comes from. Percolating just means filtering liquid through porous materials. Really, all coffee makers are percolators, because percolating is how you make coffee, excluding of course things like a French press which use infusion, but that's not important right now. But probably thanks to the lovely sounds these make as water splashes to the top, we've confused things a bit in the States at least, and sometimes referred to this water splashy action itself as percolation. That's probably how these tubes got called the perk tube, and anyway, I'm spending way too much time on this, so let's continue. As the water percolates through the coffee, it picks up that caffeine and flavors and colors, I guess, and then it ends up right back where it started. This here is the fatal flaw of the percolator, for you see, there is no separation between the fresh water and the brewed coffee. It's just one big happy family. This of course means that the coffee's concentration continually increases as the coffee is percolating. You eventually start running brewed coffee through the grounds again, and that's generally not a recipe for good coffee. Some people like the fact that the coffee recirculates as it does. We call these people masochists. To be fair though, you can control how strong the coffee becomes using time. Just let it percolate for however long you like, then remove the heat and serve. This was, after all, how everybody did it before our savior, Mr. Coffee, appeared. But designs like this glass one have one more flaw up their sleeve. They don't start moving water up the tube until the water is boiling. And quite roaringly, I might add. Remember how I was saying in that PSA earlier that adding heat to brewed coffee will burn it? Well, this percolator burns the coffee while it brews. Hey, at least it kills two birds with one stone. This electric one works in a much more elegant fashion. Its water conveyance tube doesn't have a funnel thing at the bottom, and that's because it heats the water in a very small spot. Look in the bottom and you'll see that the tube fits snugly into this little recess. This is the only part that actually gets hot, so when you plug it in, it starts percolating almost immediately. Effectively, the tube traps small quantities of water in the heat chamber, which causes it to boil rapidly, and so the bubbles formed shoot some of it up this tube, where it will then percolate through the grounds in this basket. That water then gets replaced by the colder water surrounding the heat chamber. This does still have the recirculation flaw of the stovetop percolator, but it means that it's not constantly burning the coffee. Most of the water gets heated from the water that falls through the basket and back into the pot, and this allows the device to have an automatic stop function. As it percolates, the bulk of water slowly gets warmer, and once it gets near boiling point, a thermostat cuts in and switches the device into a warming mode. In this mode, it no longer gets hot enough to continue pumping water to the top, so the brewing action stops. And for the icing on the cake, a little neon indicator will light up to let you know that it's done. So, want my impression on how well these make coffee? Let's do a taste test, shall we? I'm going to be using my everyday coffee, so I'll get a great sense of how badly these butcher it. I've ground the coffee rather coarsely, as you ideally should when using a percolator. This is, incidentally, another reason why these went out of favor, as coffee manufacturers stopped selling pre-ground percolator grind coffee. Anyway, let's cut to an unscripted segment. Hi, welcome to an unscripted segment. So, you may notice that one of the percolators is not here, and that's because while I tried to make it work with the little hot plate that I've used in other videos, that does not produce enough heat to make it percolate, so it needs to be on an honest-to-goodness stove. So that will be happening upstairs, and I will bring it back down here when it is ready. But first, I'm going to start this and show you how to do it. As I said in the scripted segment, I am using my everyday coffee. What is my everyday coffee, you ask? I'm not going to tell you because everybody judges everybody for that kind of thing, but I will tell you it is not from Starbucks and it is fair trade. That's all you need to know. I am definitely not a coffee snob and I refuse to let myself become a coffee snob, but I am pedantic enough that I measure my coffee out every morning by weight, and I have put the exact same amount of weight that I always do with a drip coffee maker inside this coffee thingy basket. And the same exact amount of water that I would normally use to make this quantity of coffee is in the percolator. The only difference here is this is a percolator, and this was ground more coarsely so that it would work better with a percolator, because this does not have a filter in it. I could put a filter in it, but I did not. And I will not be judging grounds that get in the water because I expect that to happen both on this one and the stovetop model. But for this coffee maker, you start by filling it with water, which I already did. You put the perk tube into the bottom and fit it in that little recess. Slide this over it. Cool. Now this is the spreader for this one that goes on top. And then this whole thing gets shoved down with the lid. Is that difficult? No, but I find it to be way more finicky than a regular old coffee maker. This has an old school kitchen appliance plug, so I will plug it in. And you will notice that this starts making noise quite quickly. It's already making noises and it's only been this long. And now it is percolating. So I'm now gonna go upstairs and start the other one. You guys keep watch of this. I just got back from upstairs because the one on the stove just started percolating and this is already done. So again, the stovetop models, I don't know why anyone would use them. Anyway, I have set a timer for 5 minutes. That's how long I'm going to let that percolate. I just wanted to say that the one thing I'm not quite sure of, but it looks to be okay, is some experimenting I was doing earlier indicated that the glass one needs to have a fair bit of water in it in order for it to percolate. If you only have enough water to, say, fill a mug like this, it doesn't really percolate at all. So the amount that I have in there seems to be percolating pretty well. But if it is noticeably weaker than this, I will assume that it just needs more water. But I'm not wasting any more of my good coffee on this experiment. Anyway, I'll be back in a bit. I'm back and I brought this. Now, this is not particularly dark, but the coffee that I use doesn't make a very dark coffee anyway, so I'm not necessarily concerned about that. I have 2 mugs with some cream and sugar in there. Yes, I take my coffee with cream and sugar because I love myself. And yes, this one was in keep warm for 5 or 6 minutes, but I don't think it will matter much. This is about the darkness that I would expect out of my drip coffee maker. It's a little lighter, but not much. This also pours really weirdly out of this. And I'm sure it's bunching up against the, the grounds. I tried to put the same amount of cream in here, and it is a very similar color, so hey, we at least got that kind of right, didn't we? I think this is a tad lighter, but not much. Okay. So, time to come clean. I used this once before, and it wasn't awful, but it smelled horrible. Same exact thing. The smell, it just smells not pleasant. You know, like I like the smell of a fresh cup of coffee. This is not that. This is very pungent. Like there's a sharpness to it, and also like a chemical smell, and I don't like it at all. This one, which definitely has more grounds in it, for what it's worth. Oddly enough, this one has less of a smell. It's still not good. It's not. Oh no, that chemical, that weird like pungent smell is there. So these both smell really bad. Like if you're someone who likes the smell of coffee and this is what you're used to, you've not smelled good coffee. I'm kind of afraid to taste these. Plus they are probably quite hot. This one was boiling just a moment ago. This one's probably not quite that hot. And I'll start with this one. I mean, it's not the... If I were served this at a restaurant, I would consider it bad coffee, but I wouldn't not drink it. So it's not so bad that I would send it back, but this is not the coffee that I have for breakfast, with breakfast. No. That tastes so bad. It's like worse than vending machine coffee. At least I think so. There's nothing, it is coffee, but it doesn't have any of the pleasant aspects of coffee. Shall we try this one? I'm a little afraid. Oh, this is worse. See, this one actually doesn't, this one doesn't taste burned to me. Surprisingly enough, this one does. This tastes like coffee that's been, left in the coffee pot for 2 hours. And I just made it. Yeah, it's a different kind of burn from what I'm used to, but it's there. Because normally I describe the taste of burnt coffee as almost a caramely or caramelly. Obviously it's not pleasant like that, but it's almost like a caramelization is what I get from it. This one is so much better. Like if you're gonna use a percolator, not on the stove. Get an electric one. And I should say, I don't know if all electric ones are created equal, but I'm assuming that Since this is still available for purchase, this is the design that is, you know, left, the one that's been refined to that. See, it's so funny because now this tastes pretty good. In comparison to this is much better. This is... And to know that it did this to coffee I like makes me wonder if I had, you know, just like some random coffee and put it in there, would I even tolerate it at all? I could not tell you. Since I don't know if you can see this at all, I will take a picture of the tops. This is just so you can see that the the darkness is pretty similar between the two. But yeah, neither of these make what I would consider good coffee. This makes okay coffee, but I still would not take this over drip coffee ever. If I had no other option but this, I would definitely take it over this, especially because it was faster. I was surprised how long it took this to even start percolating. This, I mean, it didn't start until this had finished, so this is definitely faster. I mean, this is kind of charming, I'll give it that. That's it though. The actual finished product, gross, gross, gross. Do not use a percolator. I mean, like, really? I just have to ask the people who say they like this. Have you had coffee that's been in a drip machine or anything better? Lots of people consider drip to be bad. I disagree with them. I think it, as I said earlier, I think it has to do with when people allow it to get burned. I think coffee fresh from a drip machine is perfectly fine, pretty good even. But if this is your idea of what good coffee is, we are at an impasse because I can't agree with you. But anyway, shall we get back to the scripted part? I think we should get back to the scripted part. So there you have it, percolators. Why are they still made? Well, I suppose these ones are good for camping or other places where you have fire but not electricity. But as far as electric ones, I have no idea. It's gotta be purely nostalgia at this point. Or else fears of plastic components maybe. I did read that in some reviews. Whatever the reason, I would not recommend purchasing one. I mean, they're not even easy to use. It's much more finicky than just a drip machine, and it's a huge hassle. In general, I just don't see the appeal of these at all. Now, in fairness, its coffee is nowhere near as bad as this guy's coffee, so I could probably get used to it eventually. Still though, it is much, much worse than my plain old drip machine. Then again, I'm just a youngster who's only known drip coffee and the supposedly better options everyone tells me I need to embrace. And just as this coffee tastes weird and wrong to me, I suppose there are people out there to whom this style of coffee is just right. I mean, it's smelly dirt water to my tastes, but different strokes and all that. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you liked this silly little video. It turns out that I bought these percolators almost a year ago. Now, I bought them for making a video, certainly not to make coffee, and I kind of forgot about them. This glass one was a vintage thing from eBay, but the electric one came right from the Amazon. And there are a startling number of options on there, including glass stovetop models. Reading the reviews makes me question my sanity quite a bit. Then again, like I said, some people like different things. Can't account for taste. A little too short and then rewind it. Shoot. My loud chair strikes again. Then we were introduced to the wonders. Boy, this was supposed to be quick. It is not quick. You see, many establishments with some establishments which, oh, that's a tongue twister. And for those of you who like to work for our Java, those of us. That would explain why that sentence felt broken. Press, cold brew, and whatever other fanciful techniques that are forking the forking fork. It ends up on store shelves where you buy it oh shoot, I need a coffee mug. How does one actually make coffee? What was that? The water in the pot. As the water heated in a... Whoops. Now, I've grounded the coffee. Grounded? You're grounded.